fires of Pearl Harbor had barely been extinguished when the throttle and plans for a long-range heavy bomber was pushed to the wall. The B-29 Superfortress came to life on the drawing board in 1941. It would see action just 3 years later, an astounding time frame even in wartime. But only after a desperate last-minute race to overcome crippling engine problems and technical flaws. Nearly 4,000 B-29s were produced. A relative handful were kept operational after World War II. They would serve in the Korean Air War, then as the pre-B-52 Strategic Air Command workhorse, as a mothership for the X-plane project, and into the 60s as the B-50 variant. The B-29 program cost more than the massive Manhattan Project atomic bomb development. The B-29's part in ending the war was no less critical, bringing together the tireless labor of thousands of civilian workers and the selfless courage of the U.S. Army Air Force. A flying B-29 is a living tribute to the men and women who preserved our freedom. The giant bomber was first assigned to a B-29 squadron ironically named after Snow White's 7 dwarfs.
It was a squadron of 9 airplanes. It was Snow White, 7 dwarfs, and the Wicked Witch.
Arriving too late to fly bombing missions in the Second World War, Doc would serve as a radar trainer during the Korean War. Doc lives today, having narrowly escaped destruction by friendly fire. Unlike many of its fellow B-29s languishing in warbird boneyards, Doc somehow survived its fate as a practice target. In 1987, a group led by Tony Mazzolini and backed by the United States Aviation Museum formed a plan to restore Doc, by then a very rare, mostly intact B-29.
They drove me out to that specific test range, and I could see in the distance the silhouette of this on the horizon of this B-29, and as we got closer, that image got larger and larger, and I even jumped out of the truck before it stopped, just to go over and see it, touch it. It was a real good feeling.
In 2000, Doc was finally rescued and delivered to Wichita. The nonprofit Doc's Friends was formed in 2013 to complete the restoration, with a first flight target date of late 2014. In the days since Doc's rescue, as in the urgent days of World War II, the energy of hundreds has again focused on getting the B-29 in the air. This time, they're volunteers, dozen upon dozen, dedicating their time and energy to Doc and to the history of service and sacrifice the aircraft represents. From mechanics, engineers, electricians, and other technicians, to those who have provided parts, equipment, tools, and other services. Many volunteers have worked on parts and pieces of Doc at shops and hangars in their own garages, scattered across the Wichita area. Others have toured the nation, going to air shows and promoting the dream of getting Doc back into the sky. Some are descendants of World War II aircraft industry employees. One is a veteran B-29 pilot, and another has worked as a riveter on Doc, just as she did on the original B-29s at the original Boeing plant. Powered by modern hybrid versions of the original engines, Doc's itinerary, flying into the hearts and minds of the next generations, at air shows and commemorative appearances nationwide. The task of restoring Doc has been enormous, but this selfless effort by volunteers will give future generations a glimpse into history beyond value. The view from the cockpit and blister windows of a precious flying tribute to those who built and flew the warbirds of freedom. That is, if we keep Doc flying in pristine condition. For this, Doc needs a home. A hangar and museum in Doc's birthplace city, Wichita, will protect the aircraft from the elements, accommodate vital maintenance, and serve as a living exhibit to preserve our very history. This is critical to Doc's legacy. This is your part of history. Your gift will literally write your name on the future of this glorious flying museum. You can fuel Doc's ongoing historic mission. You can shelter and sustain one of the few remaining symbols of American courage from World War II that braved enemy fire to save the world from tyranny. This is your mission. This is our thanks. To find out more and to donate, go to b29doc.com.